Hey everybody, welcome back to the game. We're continuing Star Wars Edge of the Empire, the beginner game. We're heading into turn number 2 of this this encounter here, this combat in the cantina. The guys on Facebook have posted their actions, so let's get to it. I'll kind of take it here as it came through on Facebook. So we're going to actually start with Oskara this time. Oskara pinches her eyes as the laser flies from her blaster, slaying one of the pigs. She is afraid that she will hit Pash or the Wookiee if she fires her gun again. She doesn't care too much about the tin can of a droid. Don't take that personal, Daniel. That's that's just part of roleplay. So she decides on a different approach. She decides to bolt out from her hiding, charges across the floor towards the thugs with her heavy blaster raised above her head like a club, relying on her speed rather than stealth. She slams the blaster down, aiming at the head of one of the nearest enemies, if possible, ignoring the one engaged with the Wookiee. So she's trying to get over here to green. She's at medium range. To close into short range takes a maneuver, and to move again and maneuver again into engaged would take a second maneuver and add 2 strain to Oskara. So let's note that before we continue. Alright, we've noted the strain for Oskara. I think that takes her to a total of 4. I also, thanks to Jason, made a recalculation of his strain. Pash is actually currently at 3 instead of 2. Alright, continuing on, 2 maneuvers here. We're now going into the main action, which is a melee attack, using her rifle, her blaster carbine here, as a melee weapon to strike the green thug. So let's see what happens. Alright, I pulled out my tablet here tonight. We're going to have the engaged range, so that's 2 purple for the difficulty. For Oskara, a melee attack is only going to get her 2 green. That's right off of her character folio. And she's going with a charge. That might be worth a bonus die, so we'll add one of those in. And then she's also using sort of an improvised weapon. Her blaster really isn't meant for melee attacks. So let's give her a disadvantage die there. And before, one of the players pointed out before, I had sort of let those 2 cancel out just to move the game along. But technically you're supposed to roll both a boost die and a setback dice together. So that's what we're going to do. Let's just see what happens. Let's see how this goes. This is definitely a unexpected attack, and she did it. She's actually got a 1 success out of the roll. So the threat and advantage all cancel each other. Successes and failures cancel each other. We end up with 1 success. So we've actually got a hit here. I actually went to the big rule book here just so we could see a drawing of the kind of gun Oskara is using. Probably she's attempting to use the stock here to smash it into the face of the big thug there. So we don't directly in the book, as far as I can see, have any damage listed for such an attack. So we'll sort of have to improvise this and probably let it work something like a club or brass knuckles or something along those lines. So we'll probably go with using her brawn along with a little bonus to the damage, but it's harder to get a critical. So let's see. Well, the attack lands and she cracks the thug right on the back of the helmet. But her brawn is only 2, and even with a little bonus there for using a improvised weapon, it's not enough to get through his soak. So she cracks him one, but it just doesn't really hurt him. It just causes him to shake his head for a moment. And then the gunfire continues. Even though that wasn't necessarily a successful attack there, my Norwegian friend, the opportunity there to sort of step across outside of the rules and try something different, I applaud that. So good job there. Let's move on down. Next posting in order. The next one to post is Daniel Reed, playing the Wookiee. He says, Loruk, seeing the club incoming, shifts his weight so that the impact will be lessened. The blow connects with his shoulder, but he shows no sign of pain. His gladiatorial instincts kick in, and he rips the club from the off-balance Gamorrean's hand. With an inner rage burning, he glares at the Gamorrean with intense hatred. Within an instant, he has his vibro-axe ready in his hand. This is his maneuver. And lets out a mighty roar. And he actually spelled the roar, so just imagine a big Wookiee roar. Before raining the axe down on the pig's head. This is his attack action. So he's reaching across the bar and attempting to nail this guy with the vibro axe. That's a mean weapon. Alright, I'm loving your posts, guys. For the Wookiee, he is engaged, so we'll give him the 2 purple there. He's using his vibro axe. He gets a skill die, that's the or proficiency die, that's the yellow one, and then he gets 3 ability dice. He's attempting to fight over the bar, so we're going to add 1 setback here since he's doing a melee attack over the bar. And let's give it a roll. Let's see how this comes out. 2 successes and 3 advantage. Very nice. Well, the damage here is 7. With 2 successes, that goes up to 9. And with their soak of 3, that's going to take it down to 6 wounds to the Gamorrean thug. And he only has a wound threshold of 6, so he is out. That vibro axe cuts him right down. So he's gone. And we also have 3 advantage, so let's see how the Wookiee may want to spend that. Interesting to note here that 3 advantage would actually qualify. Oops, that's the wrong weapon. There we go, the vibro axe. 3 advantage would actually qualify to inflict a critical injury with the vibro axe. So, oh, interesting. This has Pierce. Pierce 2. The target's soak is reduced by 2 against this attack. I missed that. But even so, the damage was so great. The results are the same. The Gamorrean is absolutely cut apart. So with the 3 advantage, we will say that this attack was so brutal that and intimidating that the next attack on the following Gamorrean is going to get a boost die. It was just such a intimidating attack. We're gonna give the other players an advantage due to the other Gamorrean being shaken. All right, next was Daniel Kempen playing Vex. He said, Vex's head moved back and forth, watching the action unfold in front of him. Foolish Twi'lek, he said in a monotone voice as he watched Oskara charge across and attack the pigman, aiming at, he's going to aim at the enforcers, and he's going to fire again. So we've got 1 enforcer left. The attack kind of, Oskara's attack kind of bounces off this big Gamorrean. And then he nearly wets himself when he sees the Wookiee cut the other one down. So we're going to give a boost die here to Vex's next shot. And he's going to aim, so he's actually going to be having 2 of these boost dice in his pool. Alright, we have the 1 for short range. Then we have the 2 ability dice there for the droid. And then we were going to give the give Vex here 2 boost dice to his roll. So let's give it a roll and see what we get with his blaster shot. 3, that's a definite hit. 3 successes and 3 advantage. That might... Oh no, a light blaster needs 4 advantage for a critical hit. But definitely a great shot. Well, let's calculate that. 5, and then we're going to add 3 to it. 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 damage, and 3 successes. 3 advantage. 8 damage and 3 advantage. Well, with the 3 soak, it does a total of 5 damage. He can take 6 before he drops, so he is hanging on by, you know, just barely. He's got 1, he can take 1 more wound before he's out. And with 3 advantage, we may want to remove some of Vex's strain. Let's see if he has any. No, he's currently without strain. So we can work in something here in the narrative. One thing we could do with those extra advantage is to give players an additional boost die. Maybe we'll do that. Let's give not only well, let's kind of repeat. So not only was he shaken before, but now Vex has shot him, and we're going to give an advantage to the next player. And we're going to say basically that the Gamorrean is starting to back off. Alright, so going back in time just for a moment, when the club crashed down on the bar in the first turn and shattered the glass, Jason says that Pash recoils backwards and shields his face as the Gamorrean's cudgel smashes into the drinks on the bar, sending them flying in a shower of glass shards. "That was close, too close," exclaims Pash, now dripping wet with the contents of about a dozen different cocktails. He looks up to see Oskara hitting the Gamorrean over the head with the butt of her blaster. While the Gamorrean is stunned by Oskara's attack, either from the unexpectedness of it, which it was quite unexpected, or from the blow to the head, he squeezes the trigger of his blaster, sending a bolt flying at the Gamorrean's chest. Alright, he's going to have a great chance of taking out the last Gamorrean here. Alright, let's put this die pool together. We've got short range, and Pash is pretty good with a blaster pistol. He's got a proficiency die, 2 ability dice. And then, thanks to a great shot from Vex, which nearly took out the Gamorrean, we're going to add a boost die here to this next attack. So let's give them a roll and see what we come up with. Interesting. No advantage. I'm sorry, no successes. But we have a ton of advantage there. We've got 4 advantage. Let's see how we would do that. Well, one thing we can do right away is drop off a point of strain and bring Pash back to 2 strain. That's going to leave 3 advantage. We could probably spend some more and reduce some strain a little bit more, but I say let's do something creative with the narrative. Let's say that with that 3 points of advantage, the Gamorrean, seeing that he was totally outnumbered and that these enemies were quite ferocious, he drops his club and picks up a bar stool and holds it right in front of him, trying to scare off the Twi'lek and protect himself from the blaster shots as he's trying to maybe inch his way back to the steps so that he can make a retreat. Pash shows no mercy and gives a blaster shot which totally just blows the chair right out of his hands and sends him stumbling back to crash into the wall and falls completely unconscious there right at the doorway. So technically we do have one of the thugs still alive, but he is totally knocked out. And so that's going to give the players a victory in this situation. If the PCs win, the Gamorreans are defeated. The silence that follows is broken by slow, unamused applause. The Devaronian bartender approaches and laughs a brittle little laugh. I guess you're the folks who need to get off the planet in a hurry. The good news for you is that I happen to know that there's a freighter in the landing bay Auric, and it's there right now. The bad news is that its captain, Trex, is an associate of the Hutts and won't just let you on. The other bad news is that the reason I know it's still in the landing bay is that it has a broken hypermatter reactor igniter and won't be flying anywhere until it gets a new one installed. I bet Vorn over at the junk shop has one. Then he points at the door. Now get out of my cantina. Alright, well, this adventure kind of railroads you through a set of encounters. And, you know, coming from our board game background, most of us, you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, just like when we played Descent together, we went from encounter to encounter. It was very specific. This one will work in much the same way. However, you've got a situation here right at the end if you want to do anything else. I'm going to give you a chance here to do anything else at this scene you want to do before we close it up. And then, you know, if you've just got nothing to add to the scene, you can just certainly say, you know, ready to move on your Facebook page, on the Facebook post, sorry. And if you'd like to role play anything here to finish up, we'll try to do it within about one post. If they're, you know, if you're wanting to check out anything or talk to anybody, but get ready to move on. The next encounter will take you to the junkyard, where you're trying to get the part necessary to repair that ship. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll catch you for some more Star Wars Edge of the Empire beginner game soon.